This evening we have as our panel Senate President Rodriguez from the Student Government Senate, Chief Justice Howman from the Student Government Supreme Court, Student Body President John Coco from the Executive, and Dean Friedman, Dean of Students. These individuals will be here tonight to answer questions on three topics: housing and safety, parking, and lastly, financial aid. This should be an exciting evening, so in order to begin, please set your cell phones on silent. As you wish to speak, please raise your hand and you will be called upon one at a time. Questions that cannot be answered on spot will receive a follow-up card in order to further research your concern. In addition, questions remaining at the end of the session will also be answered by follow-up card within the next week via official USF email. Ushers will pass around the cards as necessary. Mr. Casado over here will be one of our ushers, so please see him if you need one. And Michael, my apologies. A tracking system will soon be available on the Student Government website to show the progress on answering your questions. The University of South Florida prides itself on its good manners, so please wait on questions to be asked and answered before you wish to interject. If you need to use the restroom at any time, please exit using the rear exit in order to minimize any distractions. And with that, we will begin. Those who have questions, please raise your hand. Sir.
Hello, my name's Aaron Nielsen. Hello, my name's Aaron Nielsen. I'm a student at the College of Business. And this semester I'm in a class called Leadership and Social Change with Dr. Edna Miller. The project is we have to enact some form of social change on the USF campus. One issue that I noticed that plagued a few of our members, including myself, during my time here on campus was my bike was stolen, and so was a couple other group members. And so our suggestion, or we were curious as to how we could possibly get cameras facing bike racks to deter crime, because it's a widespread problem. It's been happening here since I got here 3 years ago. That's my question. How do we get cameras, or a way to deter, to fix the bike problem?
Well, there are a couple of issues related to bikes on campus, and I know this summer I presented with University Police at every orientation session, and one of the things that they encourage strongly is that everyone use a U-bolt as opposed to chain locks or some kind of wire lock. And so some of it is what kind of locking device are you using to secure the bicycles. It might be.
My bike was actually did use a U-lock, and I don't know if it's I don't know how to do it. Honestly, yeah. It's not a criminal.
Yeah, so that might be something I can follow up with the University
right.
Police to say if they're getting the U-bolts off, then what's the fix for that?
But I mean, students shouldn't necessarily have to feel like their bikes are constantly in danger if they don't have a U-bolt lock. I mean, there's many different types of locks out there, and I don't know. It's just been going on for too long, and I mean, would it be like too expensive to get cameras facing the bike racks? I think that would be sort of an issue and catch the people doing it.
Here's the dilemma with cameras. It's the same dilemma maybe 15 years ago. Colleges and universities looked at putting cameras on top of blue light bulbs so that they could see what's going on. On the one hand, you'd have a camera there, you have to have somebody watching the camera at all times. That would be one.
It couldn't just be recording.
Well, what happens on the recording is on an endless loop. You still need somebody there to make sure that they're taking it out and returning it, or else it just records over itself. So that might be the other potential dilemma is how many bike racks do we have on campus, and how many cameras would we have?
What would you identify the main ones that get targeted? Like I'm a Cypress seed, the bike racks get targeted a lot. Juniper, I've walked out of Juniper and I'll see like all the seats taken off.
Well, it is a good out of the box idea, out of the box thinking idea. And so,
what would I need to do to see this idea develop or some feedback on the site right here?
The gentleman right up front here.
So I think that with this issue, it's related to USF PDs, and so what we're going to do is try and instead of meeting with them, bring the issue, see if maybe they're doing something already, or bring their concerns so they know that it's an issue that students do have. So if you would write it on there, would be make sure to send you up an email later with everything. Yes.
Thank you. You guys will take that up with the PD, or is it something that?
We will proceed for you on, and we'll contact you, your official USI. Just make sure to fill out follow-up.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen here.
I don't know if it's okay to skip ahead to the parking situation.
It's absolutely okay. The agenda does have select topics in a specific order, but I understand some people need to leave early and have specific concerns, so feel free to ask.
I do have work at 7, that's the only reason I'm kind of rushing this. Okay, my name is Patrick. I've been a student here for about 6 years, and I'm here on behalf of the health science department today, USF Health. And I'm sure you guys are already aware there's a big parking problem over there. I know it's been a petition in the past at least 2 times. I'm here today not to ask like a parking garage or anything crazy like that. I have some of my own like resolutions I want to talk about. But the major problem is that this year we filled our 4th year of pharmacy, so that's another 100 parking spots gone. Next year we're gonna have the PA program come in, that's another 100 spots. Then the second year comes in, another 100 spots. So in the next like 2 or 3 years, if we're looking down the line, if we're being forward thinking here, it's gonna get even worse than what it is now. And I personally don't think it's fair that we're paying $220 about for a parking permit, and then we have to pay for spaces, use valet parking. There are so many students taking patient parking up, and that's not fair to the patients who are sick and unable to like travel distance, and that's not fair on a lot of people. So some of the main problems I've seen is that the medical students, they usually just skip class because there's not parking, and their classes aren't mandatory, so they're okay with skipping class unless it's an exam day. For pharmacy, we actually have mandatory classes, so if we're late more than 10 minutes, we basically don't get attendance grade for some classes, or we can't even take an exam. So if you can't find parking and it gets really bad, you're gonna park in a GC spot, you're gonna take a teacher spot, you're gonna do what you can to get parking because you're desperate, So with that said, I was wondering, is this the proper forum to talk about that? Is there someone I can talk to about my plans, resolution? Go ahead.
Patrick, thank you. Well, not really your question. Thank you for bringing up that concern. It's been a concern that a lot of students have had, and it's a concern that it has been brought to their attention. Basically, what PATS does is every single year, they look at the demographic of new students. Like you said, the new PA program is going to be coming in next year, and they reallocate the number of S, R, and E spots. So with those new programs emerging, PATS will reappropriate those parking lots to make sure that there are going to be more student spots in the upcoming years. Adding on to that, a week from today, on October 1st, next Wednesday, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we're actually going to be having a parking forum. The judicial branch will be hosting it.
Okay.
And we'll have administrators from parking and transportation services as well.
What was that date again?
October 1st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Next
October
Wednesday.
1st, 10 a.m.?
Yes, sir. A week from today.
What day would that be?
Wednesday.
Day.
Yep, and there'll be free food. The director of PATS will be there, the business director, and they'll tell you a little bit more about that because that's a concern that's been brought to their attention.
Okay.
And it's been discussed before, but they do analyze those demographics each year of the students coming in and the new programs emerging, so they can reallocate the student spots compared with the faculty.
At USF Health, we have our lunch from 12 to 1, so would be stopping by at 12 be okay if it's 10 to 1?
Absolutely. You can stop by any time. They'll be there the whole time,
Mhm.
just answering questions and concerns as they come along.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, it's really bad over there. I've seen people get in arguments over parking spots. I've seen like
We have
people
centers
driving,
around
40 miles an hour in the parking lot to go like snatch a parking spot. So it really is bad. So
I
I just want to like bring it up now before it gets worse in the future.
Thank you so much for your concern. I really do appreciate it, but please try to come by next week and talk to them.
No, I definitely will.
But
Thank
even
you.
If you
Thanks,
can't,
sir.
I'll write that down and I'll make sure to bring it up.
Okay, and a couple of us do have some plans. So should we start a petition too, or should we just talk about it first? How should we go about that?
I can't really encourage or discourage you from doing a petition.
Okay.
I would say bring it up to them first and see what they would say to you, how they're going to approach that situation coming in the next year, since there's new programs coming, like you said. And if need be, that's something you can look into.
Excellent. Look forward to discussing it with you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Outstanding. Thank
What's
you.
the location for the forum?
The MSC Amphitheater. It's gonna happen right outside during Bull Market. There'll be loud music, free sandwiches, sodas. Come out.
Gentlemen from the back of the audience.
Hello, my name is Tim Jones. I'm a sophomore here. Previously over this past year, I just been looking at the campus and kind of examining it myself, kind of taking it in. And I was wondering if there was any protocol in regards to procedures that would be taken in case of active shooter on campus or in event of an emergency. Is there any certain procedure that a student's supposed to go through, or is there something set in place already?
Sure. We ask all students to sign up for mobile, and mobile is our emergency text messaging service. And one of the things to keep in mind is you should sign up every year just to make sure that you're on. In the case of an active shooter, you would get a text from University Police telling you what to do, and it would be short messages, but the message would say something like stay indoors, stay where you are, shelter in place. If you're outside, go inside. They'll give you a location of where the active shooter is suspected to be. So mobile is going to be your best first contact. The second thing that we have on campus that we're able to do is that every video screen and computer are all tied into an emergency network. So if there's an emergency, whether it's weather, fire, hazardous waste, active shooter, we have the capability of controlling every computer screen right away with a message. And it's tested twice a year to make sure that it works. So that you get that, if you're sitting at a computer in the computer lab, you'll get that message on the computer lab. If you're in the office, you'll get that message. If you're in the Marshall Center, you'll see it on the video screen. If you're in College of Arts and Sciences, you'll see it on their video screens and so on. So, third thing I'll give you is, we have a broadcast system. We do have megaphone on a tower on campus that is extremely loud. And so that's, some people say, So in the case of an emergency, so not only will you hear sound siren, but we can also broadcast over that. Somebody's voice will come out and tell you what to do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next. I believe I saw a young lady right here in pink.
Hi, how are you? My name is Catherine. I'm president of Young Americans for Liberty, and I'm also a double major in the Arts and Science College. I have two concerns regarding the topics on today's agenda. The others aren't really on the agenda, so I'll leave those out. But the first one is regarding housing. I don't live on campus, but a friend of mine does. So one day I decided that, hey, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna cook for you. So we can actually have something good to eat. We don't have to spend money on campus. The topics between, or choices between Subway and Pollo Tropical and Jimmy John's kind of gets old after a while. And I was really appalled at the cooking conditions that students that live in housing are provided. The stove that I went to use, only two of the burners work, and one of those two did not even get heated correctly to be able to cook chicken. So this becomes a concern of health, whether the products chosen to be cooked are cooked thoroughly, as well as how are we supposed to expect students to be able to fend for themselves, grow and learn, as well as save money on campus. So with that concern, my question is, how do we plan in the future to be able to have students rely a little bit less on their meal cards or their meal plans or whatever it is, so students can actually kind of fend for themselves? It's actually cheaper just to cook in bulk, and you have meals for 4 or 5 days. My second concern is.
Well, let's address
Oh, this one?
Let's
Okay.
address one at a time so everyone has a fair turn. Mr. Rodriguez,
Yeah, well, specifically to your friend's problem with the stove, if you were to type in USF work order on Google, a part of their rent goes to the appliances that's given to them, and USF will send somebody out to fix it. And if they can't fix it, that's a part of what they're paying for, and they'll figure out how to like get a new stove, whatever. In terms of future endeavors, I don't know.
Reducing meal plan?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that would be something to investigate now. I can tell you most colleges and universities aren't interested in reducing the fees related to housing what they will tell you related to meals, what they will tell you is that, students get a lot of benefit from group buying with dining services. They'll also tell you that it's a nutrition issue, that if you have students cooking on their own at different levels, at different spaces, there's no way to control for that. That's been a question, I can tell you, for at least 40 years, cooking on campus. So I don't, and now, I think the position that students have there at USF, because they're required, first-year students are required to live on campus. I think that there's more of a discussion that can be had about variability. But in places where housing isn't required, and so let's say, for example, sophomore, junior, senior year, there are other options. You don't have to live on campus. So for those first-year students, they may have a bit of a platform to talk about preparing their own meals, or the opportunity to prepare their own meals, and some kind of modification with meal plans. For the other students, it's kind of a hard case to make. But I'd say for some.
And
Thank you, Dr.
for the record, this is in Epsilon Hall.
Okay.
But I understand that we do have registered dietitians on campus in the wellness center, so I understand that as well, and they do cooking classes and whatnot. Just in terms of the facilities, and I know Epsilon Hall is one of the older dormitories, so I'm not sure what it's like in Juniper Poplar or anything like that. But it's just kind of a concern. It's a self-reliancy. You know, college is supposed to be that place where people are primed to be able to go out into the world and to be able to do good unto others. And how can we do that if other people, you know, tell us what nutritional standards are? So I think it would be good. I understand that also the meal plans for first year students were required because, you know, some people weren't getting the proper nutrition. They weren't even getting like the correct calories that are required for your daily intake. So I understand that as well. My concern is just that these facilities need to be up to standards, so students that do feel confident and do feel educated enough to be able to cook their own dinner or lunch or breakfast have that and don't have to necessarily resort to their dining dollars, which they could save for something that they feel is for coffee on a late night. So thank you.
Next.
Do you have another concern?
Yeah, so why don't you go for the fair turn, or we go to the same person twice?
Okay, great.
Okay.
Awesome. So my second question is, I'm aware that USF researchers, and I believe it's the College of Behavioral and Community Sciences in the mental health and law and policy area, have embarked on a study regarding police lapel cameras within Orlando. Now again, this is hearsay, but I talked to a friend who had a friend who apparently got arrested here at USF, and with a 95-pound female who was body slammed to the ground and head apparently hit into the concrete by university police. So my question is do you consider it being a good example that perhaps student government or student request that university police be required to carry lapel cameras, so we can also set an example? I understand that Hillsborough County sheriffs are not currently pressing for them to carry that. So what would you think would be a good way to hold police accountable for the way that they carry out their duties, as well, especially in light of the very prevalent instance of police brutality throughout the nation?
I think that question would most likely be best answered via a follow-up card, so that way we can be in contact with the university police.
Thanks.
Next.
Hi, I'm Clayton Clark. I'm a junior here at USF. I just transferred last year, and in my short time here, I've noticed that some of the areas on campus are kind of dark at night because I have night classes. So I was wondering, is there any money in the budget for light bulbs?
I think I will defer this one to Mr. Cooper.
I'd like to think so. Where are you you talking about exactly? Maybe we can target that area.
One example would be like by the Kim building, like by the water molecules. It's kind of dark on the pedestrian areas. Like at night when you're walking, you're like, ah, it's kind of dark.
Mickey Mouse balls. We can improve that lighting over there, and I'll follow up with you.
Okay.
Just as a follow-up to that, student government, one of our agencies is Safe Team. So when students feel uncomfortable or like it's a little bit dangerous walking either from their car, or from their class to their car, or their class to their dorm, they can call Safe Team and you'll have two guys in yellow t-shirts come pick you up in a golf cart and take you where you need to be. So if you need that phone number, I'm sure someone in student government can give that to you in here.
9746. Also following up on that, Cody, do you wanna talk about the
Sure.
night?
So once a semester, there's actually a walk that is put on. It's called like Light the Night, or it's Night something like. Sorry. They do a campus walkthrough where they check the integrity of the blue lights on campus to make sure that they're all working when they're hit, to make sure that the sirens go off and the lights, just so that you know you're safe, as well as they go and look at all the lights on campus. So I don't know if you've been by Castor Pond or if that was before you got here. The first week that I was here, I noticed it was really dimly lit. It was not a nice place to walk at night, but because of that, like, what I call the Light the Night walk or whatever, they got new lights there, and it made it a lot nicer to walk at night, and you feel a lot safer walking through there. So I believe that's done through the Center for Victims Advocacy or one of those departments, but they do it, they advertise it, and they're usually at Bull Market as well.
Hi, my name is Dr. Joan Kaywell, and I'm a faculty over in the College of Education, and I'm just visiting. But since you were talking about parking, I do want to make an observation about that. Classes, the staff typically leaves campus at 5 o'clock. Classes also start at 5 o'clock. It would make a lot of sense if parking services would open parking spaces at 5 o'clock rather than 5:30 to take away the stress that students feel when they show up. Wait, they take a spot that's available because the staff has just left, they pull in, they come in into class, but they're stressed out wondering if they're gonna get a ticket. And it makes no sense that the open parking in the evening starts at 5:30 instead of 5 when the staff are already leaving. It's just a suggestion.
Thank you for bringing that concern up. Like I said, it's something I'll write down and bring up to Pat the next time we meet with them. We meet with them bi-monthly just to kind of go over some student concerns. Just as a reminder, again, our parking forum is next Wednesday, October 1st. There will be free food and administrators there in charge that can answer these types of questions. That concern's been brought too. I think before I arrived here, it was 5 and they changed it to 5:30. So they've been kind of switching back and forth, and it's kind of a myth that it's at 5. And some students think it's at 5:30, some think it's at 5. We try to kind of alleviate that myth with just some information and brochures. But I'll definitely make sure to bring that concern up, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
And I also want you to know, I've been here for 28 years. I have never heard of it being anything different than 5:30. Because I have asked numerous times and say, I'm sorry, this is what time the parking service is open, because I teach primarily at night, and that's all I know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks. Sir.
I was wondering, came to mind that there's 3 dining halls on campus, and that they consume probably a good amount of food every day and dispose of it as well. I was wondering if there was anything that was already put into plan in regards to what is done with the extra food at the end of the day, or food that is left over is just thrown away, or is it stored away and given to people that are in need, the homeless. And if there's if at this time there are any plans towards limiting the amount of food that is wasted in the dining halls every day.
That's an investigator.
All right, if you could just fill out a follow-up form. Oh, you
Oh,
can.
all right,
Okay.
yeah. So I met with Aramark, who they basically run all of the food services on campus, for that matter. And we did speak about different sustainability projects to make sure that we're not wasting any food. And the response that I got from Airmark was that they had surprisingly little waste because especially within the dining halls, because it actually saves costs for them. It's more cost effective to not waste so much food. And so their managers are on a system where the more waste that they have, they kind of monitor the amount of waste that there is, and it's not good as a manager if there's too much waste, basically. Another thing is that they're kind of working, I guess, along with PATS a little bit with a biodiesel program. And so they're taking some of like the biodegradable things, the oil from frying, and they're actually using that to create biodiesel fuel in the research park, as well as they've been giving some of the compostable materials to a student organization on campus, and they've been using that at their garden. But one of the things that we discussed was that the amount of compostable material, there's so much of it, we don't even know how to store it or where to put it after, because it accumulates every day and it has to sit for a few months before you can use it. And so there is a substantial amount of compostable waste that they do have, and they are looking into community partners who they can maybe start a relationship with where they can donate those things to. But that's the only information I know about that.
Thank you, Aaron.
Hi, my name's Jessica. So something that I noticed, currently I live on campus and I live in Greek Village. For our mailroom situation, we have one mailroom for like all of Holly, I think it's the Holly C mailroom. And so the Andrews complex, all of Holly and all of Greek has to share that mailroom, and it takes about 45 minutes to an hour just to pick up a package. So I was wondering if there's anything that they could do about that, or if that's like, I know it's not temporary. They shut down Greek's mailroom. So
Anybody have any?
Yeah, I can look into it, and what I'll do is I'll talk with Anna Hernandez. I know there's been some issues with mail and mail room, and I'll make sure that if you give me a card, I'll make sure that I follow up with that and find out what the plans, the immediate plans are, what the future plans are. I think a lot is going to change in the next couple of years as we move forward. How many of you have heard of this E3 project? Anyone out there? Yeah. It's a public-private partnership that the university plans to enter into to improve housing in the Andros complex area. So eventually, a lot of that area gets blasted out and new housing will come in. Actually, a new housing village with mixed use. So retail as well as housing space will go in there. And typically, and I'll give you the university answer, typically when universities plan to make renovations, they don't make a lot of investment in what's current. And so the struggle is, how do we make livable what you got now until we get something new? And that's the question I'll pose to Ms. Hernandez to see how we can make that more useful. You say 45 minutes to an hour to get a package.
Yesterday, or 2 days ago, I waited 45 minutes to pick up one package.
Yeah, that's okay. So I will take that on.
Okay, thank you so much.
Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. Everyone, I just had a quick question pop in my head. I was doing research a little while ago about possibly having gender neutral housing on campus. I've talked to some people and they say that it would be preferable to have some sort of gender neutral housing. And I think in 2011, USF had talks about it. So I was just wondering if there are any future plans for gender neutral housing so all students can feel comfortable living on campus.
I can tell you there have been no conversations, but what I'll encourage you to do is to start having students have those conversations. So if you start to ask, then we have to start listening.
Right.
The more you ask, the more we listen, and the more you ask, the more we listen.
Mr. Rodriguez.
And, oh, sorry, Danny.
I know, when they were first looking into doing the private the private public
Public-private.
part, yeah.
P3.
The P3, they actually, housing sent out a survey to every student on campus, and that was one of the big topics, the gender neutral, like having rooms where men and women, could share bedrooms or even live in the same area. I don't know what they did with that information, and I don't know if they plan on, making that part of the new complex, but I know it's something that they've looked into.
And, Dr. Freeman, you talked about, basically making, having a conversation about it. Who would I start having conversations with in regards to housing?
Anna Hernandez or Linda Casper.
Okay.
Linda Casper is the director of housing, a residence life director of residence life. Anna Hernandez is the assistant vice president for housing and residential education. So either one of those.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Yolo.
I just wanted to comment on that. I think my freshman year they were looking onto it. I think I remember reading an article in the newspaper or something that Florida law prohibits having gender neutral in public schools, and that was the reason. So that might be a public, I guess, Florida law we might want to change in order
Yeah,
for
I think the
understanding.
law is trying to get repealed, but.
Mr. Levin.
So, Danny, the mic could be okay, right? So I see on the agenda we have ANSP distribution as a topic. So I think since we have two ASARC members up here, I'm curious as to what ways you think we could better spend the ANSP than how we are currently spending it. What ideas do you have?
We'll have Mr. Coco, then Mr. Rodriguez.
So I'm just getting the spot. I'm just curious.
How to better spend the ANS.
Or do you think we're doing a good job? That's an acceptable answer too. I'm just curious what ideas.
My concern is we gotta be careful with our cash and how much new projects we're gonna take on while at the same time eating our cash. So we gotta look for creative ways in order to ensure that the money that it is coming in now is being used to the best of its ability. So right now I don't know. I have to look at the budgets and look at what we passed ASOR and what we're looking at for this next year. And then you're on ASOR too, so we'll have this conversation from
I like to get things started early.
That's right. I don't need to understand. I understand.
Oh
gosh. For me, one of my biggest concerns is making sure that we're not, even though it's out of our control, unnecessarily spending money that we shouldn't be spending. So it's finding a way to objectively look at events that have been overfunded and events that may have been underfunded. And I mean, besides that, I think ASARC, from what I understand of it, is it's a very thorough, very thought out, very long process that I think is good. It might not be perfect, but it's good. And that's my answer this morning.
Thanks.
Regarding fees, ANS fees especially, I went to Mr. Coco's office over the summer to speak about this, but would student government consider doing rollover print? So what I mean by that is I can go days or weeks without printing anything off my $250 a day budget. What would stop a little programming and coding in the system to be able to allow those unused funds to roll over? Because especially during midterms and finals, where you print several things for several classes, that $250 gets used up pretty fast.
Mr. Rodriguez.
So this has been we had very long conversations about this. The first thing is, the amount of money that we allocate for the prints, it isn't $2.50 per student per day. I forget what the exact allocation is, but if every student used $2.50 per day throughout the year, we'd be paying millions of dollars. Yeah, a lot more than we could afford. I know that we had very brief conversations with IT about possibly figuring out a way to give students more prints during finals and midterms, but I know that's something that would cost us more money. And something that we haven't addressed again. So So I mean, I wouldn't mind personally being the person to look into that. Finding a way to maybe allocate more money during midterms and finals, but it's a conversation that we've had, and I know it would be very, very complicated. But
Sir?
I'm Clayton again. When it comes to online classes, every major has some online classes that are available. I found that when I was like dropping and adding classes this semester and even in previous semesters, for classes that you can't take on campus that are only offered online, there's like extra fees, like there's a $150 extra fee. I was wondering, why is that?
Yes, these fees have been an issue. The Florida Auditor General did a report on why, on how our fees are unusually high. And so I've been speaking with some members within Innovative Education, the people that run the online distance learning, and trying to figure out ways to limit those costs. So I think with this Auditor General report, they're relooking at the system and how they're looking to charge these fees. And so if you could get a follow-up card, so I could follow up with you and let you know where the problems with the issue.
And actually, we do have a pamphlet right there from the cashier's office that breaks down your tuition, and it breaks it down from, because I know like if you're a graduate, you pay more, and if you're doing online classes, you pay more, and I know in your tuition breakdown, there's like ANS fees, and what does that mean? We actually have a pamphlet right there that breaks it down for you and tells you everything, from how much you're being charged for it, and what it means, and what it goes towards. So I would check that beforehand, and it actually tells you like what your online fees goes to, because most of it is because of, not convenience, but yeah, for running server, and because that online system that you're taking your online classes for, it costs more than if you were to go to a classroom, because you have to pay for Canvas and like all of that, and for it to maintain itself and actually work when you log into your classes. So look over that pamphlet, and if you have more questions, then raise them or do a follow-up card, but that should give you all the information. Yes, you can keep it.
Thank you. Next. Don't be shy.
Oh.
Mr. Malango, I saw your hand.
Frank, linking it up, there's been talks of an on-campus stadium. I know it's something a lot of students will, I'd like to hear some opinions on that, ways we can make it possible, is it completely unfeasible? I don't know, something maybe a little bit light.
I don't believe that's a topic for this evening, so.
Sorry.
You could follow up with a follow-up card.
I thought I remember the state to the,
Or, Mr. Malango, if you would like to raise your concern in open forum, then you can also do that. It's up to you.
Okay.
Last one, I swear. Don't let Joe go. So, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm a double major. One is a hard science, biomed, and the other is political science. So needless to say, I spend a lot of time in the library. It's becoming more and more apparent that our library is not sufficient to serve all of our academic needs. And I understand that student government does not fund academic needs, which is the huge argument last year regarding shortening the library hours. However, student government had a very big role in ensuring that students got what they needed to have their success. So my question to you or to the panel is, what can we do to be able to either make the library a more efficient and quiet space? Because I assure you that the inherent definition of library does not exist in that building. I have to come to the student center to get quiet study space because the library is too packed and too loud and too obnoxious to get anything done. So with your relationship with the board of trustees or whatnot, would a second library outside of the Schimberg be a reasonable type of expectation, or can we just better allocate the space and make it a more quiet area? Frankly, I just kind of find it kind of interesting how we have a soundproof gaming room, but not soundproof study rooms.
Mr. Rodriguez.
I have a question. Have you ever been to like the 5th or 6th floor of the library?
I've been on, yes, I've been on the 6th floor the past 3 nights, and there were a group of gentlemen who were giggling like middle school girls behind me, hitting on sorority girls at the table next to them. I've been on the 5th floor. It's a problem. I've been in study rooms that people do not know the term whisper. There's cinder blocks, it's a porous material, it's not soundproof. It's just a problem. Like, I understand that it's busy. There's over, I wrote it down, there's over like 40,000 undergrads on this student, not 40,000 undergraduate students on this campus, not including graduate students or post-bac, like my friend Veronica here. So it's just a problem. I understand that, like I said, student government's not about academics, it's a completely different department, but you guys directly represent us, and based off the stats, I assume that it's a problem for not just me, but for other people in this room.
You want to chime in, Mr. Carter?
So it is an issue. Been talking with Dean Garrison, who's the dean of the library over there, about it, and we're trying to figure out new methods of creating quiet space. As you said, there's a lot of people in Club Lit, and it's always live. So what you're telling me is even on the 6th floor or the 5th floor where there's designated quiet zones, you cannot find quiet zones.
I was there last night and I left. So
Okay. Well, I'm gonna follow up with Bill and see if we can reallocate space. Have you tried study rooms?
I've tried study rooms, and we're taking Orgo 2 together. We've
Yeah.
actually called down to the front desk on 2 separate occasions within 1 hour. We've knocked on our neighbors' study rooms asking them to keep it
Even
down,
they're too loud.
and they actually spoke louder and more obnoxiously. So we called down to the office twice, and both times they basically said, well, we can move you, and wouldn't come mediate the issue after
Right.
both of us have tried. So
Okay. We'll talk.
cool.
Sandy. Mr. Thomas.
In relation to her statement, do we not have like a designated study hall adjacent to the library, like something separate from the library?
Designated study hall?
Yeah,
Like
a location that's
building?
not the library where students can go and study.
In the Marshall Center.
It's weird though, you would think that the student center would be where people go to socialize and hang out and talk and use computers. We have I don't think people know about the SU computer lab, that it's 2 floors of computers, so they go into the smart lab and whatnot. And it's weird how it's that role reversal. So I don't know if there's anything that you can do to kind of redefine the space that's study space versus social space, because that would really help us out.
What time are you going?
I go anywhere between 1:30 in the afternoon,
Until 2 o'clock in the morning.
till 2 o'clock.
And it's just jammed packed throughout that time.
Normally after about 3 o'clock, it's completely jammed, and then it dies down between 7 and 8, and it picks back up around 9, and then it dies down around 1. We go in the morning before our orgo between like 9:30 and 11. It's perfect. It's the way that it should be. But that's in the morning, because it's busy. So.
Okay.
Thank
We'll talk
you.
with Bill and see what we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Next. Corey, did you have your hand raised? Well, if you'd like, Mr. Maloney, you can go back to
Can I
your.
reinstate my question?
You may.
I reinstate my question.
Okay. You want to?
Sure, I mean,
It wasn't meant to be super serious, I was just looking for something
I mean, I agree, I would love for there to be a stadium here, but, I guess last year from what I heard, during the presentation of the master plan, there's really no discussion or like plans in the next 10 years to really do that. I think it would cost about $100 million, which we don't have, like, legitimately $100 million. I still think it's something students should raise their voices about, because people are passionate about it, I'm passionate about it, and even if it's not here for us, I think students, not only in our generation, but generations that come keep talking about this, they have to do it eventually. I mean, it's gonna help the school, they're gonna realize it. I mean, we might not be around for it, but maybe we'll be watching it on TV with alumni. We'll be alumni.
Season ticket holders.
I would love that.
Ms. Ditzer.
Oh, I was mentioned printers in the housing area. Did anyone mention? Okay, we have one printer in Poly N, and it's broken 80% of the time. And instead of walking to the library as a female in the middle of the night, which I know procrastination, blah blah, but it would be incredibly useful, even if we had maybe two more, even one more printer somewhere within housing. Like it can be in Delta, it can be wherever, it doesn't matter. It can be outside next to a tree, as long as it's
The short answer is yeah. The, I think the residence halls are in some ways informed by a residence hall council. They ought to be approached to approach Anna Hernandez.
Okay.
To say this is what we want. It seems like a relatively easy fix. Not very expensive, you know. So I think either through hall council or through the RAs or the RLCs, say here's what we need. Can we get it?
Okay. Because I know a lot of students complain about it, but nothing's been done. So maybe they want like a petition. I can totally do that.
I would guess it would be a petition, but if that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Now I'll ask her too. I'm in a meeting with Hannah every other week, where we do talk about a lot of issues, and I'm happy to raise that issue with her.
So just like as a follow-up with that, I don't live on campus, I'm a commuter, but I know that there's a printer in JP, and it's the same problem, that it was just always broken, it was really being not used for the proper reasons, people got frustrated with it, so just the good old-fashioned was bang it to try to get to work. Is there any way to, if we do implement getting more printers for housing, is there any way to move it more towards where the RAs are table, maybe not RAs, but where they have the people who sit at the table of the info desk? Is there a way to do that?
Line of sight.
Yeah, so someone's always
see it.
supervising it,
Yeah.
but would that be taken away from their duties though? So I'm wondering if they can think about that.
Yeah. So where is it? They're situated in a room somewhere?
I mean, I don't know what the protocol is.
In JP?
Yeah.
In JP, it's on the first floor. There's like a weird lobby set up with like a middle reception randomly floating in the middle.
Yeah.
And then behind it, there are I think two printers.
It's one right next to the
Yeah.
vending machine.
Okay, yeah.
Behind.
Exactly.
So
It's
it's like
behind
the people are
reception.
sitting here and then you have to walk around this way.
But unmonitored.
Also, JP is no, I shouldn't make that argument. Never mind. But I'm sorry. But yeah, especially like since North Campus even housing is just such a large area, you know, you can take a full 2-mile tour of the campus just up there. So, you know, we have one in Holly M, and it's a great location for it. It's a little office space. You go in, it's open at 24 hours, all times of the night. But it's usually broken, and then there's no other way, there's nowhere else to go. So, printers are a big issue.
In that room where the printer is there a way to notify someone? Is there a card or some kind of notification system to say, hey, the printer's broken?
What happens is we end up telling the reception the printer's broken, and they say it's through email. And then
Okay.
magically 3 days later, eventually it gets repaired. It's kind of the same with the elevators. I don't know if any of you lived in Holly. Holly C, the elevator was broken for about 6 months, and no one called to help, no one called to get it fixed. Don't know why, don't know what happened, I don't know the logistics, I can't, make assumptions on anything, but the printer safety deals, elevators, printers.
Okay. About Safe Team, I think it's a great service. I utilize it all the time. But like one of my concerns is if somebody's not available to pick up, they just tell you that nobody's there, so you have to find another system, find another ride, walk, or something like that, especially during finals week. I know that students are drivers, so they're obviously studying for exams and that too. But at the same time, I feel like if you're walking home from the library at 2 a.m., that that's not the safest thing, and just because there's like not a student that can drive you, there should be some sort of other resource as someone like that can escort you or something to get you back to your residence hall.
This is really a safety emotion issue.
You're right. We're students and they have finals, and everyone wants to go home at 2 a.m., so it's an issue. My advice would be why not talk to your sorority and see if they're willing to create some sort of a buddy system during finals week, and y'all figure it out from there.
Well, it's not just a concern. I know it's like for any residence hall on campus. Like, so if you're a student living in, you know, one of the Andrews complexes, then it's the same thing for them. Like to get a ride, it's a 20-minute walk from the library. So to walk by themselves or anything like that, if they don't have anyone to call, you have to kind of look at students that don't have someone to rely on, that they use Safe Team because of that.
And also having two, I know you said mention sorority, having two girls walking alone together still isn't gonna help with the issue. So, I'm just saying, so, I mean, it's still gonna feel uncomfortable for them. I understand, I lived on campus, Adam walks all alone, it's very uncomfortable, it's very scary.
Then get 3 girls.
Five
girls.
The reality is,
Let's bring it back in.
The reality is, we don't have a budget to fund everyone's ride on campus. We just don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we can necessarily afford to outsource that. So the reality is, I don't have a quick answer for you.
I understand that.
I have one possibility.
I don't feel like that was an appropriate answer, to just say like have one of your sisters, because I'm speaking on my behalf here, but also like for a concern of other students that maybe aren't in an organization that have other people to rely on and they don't really know anyone. They're utilizing Safe Team for that. Like Safe Team, they can either give you a ride or have someone be a person to escort back to your residence hall. So I'm not speaking on my behalf, I'm speaking on behalf of students in general.
I think what would be most appropriate is to do further research in the area, and we can most definitely get back to you after we've done adequate research with the follow-up card.
Okay,
Thank you. Ms. Judon. Ms. Dinser, did you have your hand up?
Oh, no, sorry.
Mr. Gustavo.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago I got to go to Riverfront Park.
Guys, can you wait till the question came in? It was just she was asking a question, you could ask me a question.
Yeah, no
None of you guys are hearing it. Sorry.
What's up?
Please.
So a couple weeks ago we did our Senate retreat over at Riverfront Park, and we got to do like the ropes course and stuff there, and like utilize all the resources we have there. And one of my friends who's on staff there mentioned that there's no bus that goes directly to Riverfront Park. So I feel like, I don't know how we budget for it. I don't think it comes to the student government. I know it comes from the campus itself, but we're spending all this money having that resource for students, but there's no way for us to get out there. So I was wondering if there's a way to look into having the buses go out there, maybe like on the weekends, like on Saturday mornings at least, just something so people can use it. Because I can do it easily because I drive, but there's some students here who are from out of state. They don't have a car. They're just kind of there, and I don't expect them to walk down Townhall to go to Riverfront Park. So.
Sam, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I can touch a little bit on it. I know in terms of the bull runner getting down to Riverfront Park, usually in the past only funds that, or will only fund that if it's for a special event or something like that. And which I understand, like it's USF Riverfront Park, I think students should have easier access to that as well. I know that's not the most prevalent thing in the conversation right now. I think what's mostly in the conversation right now, putting more bull runners on the C route, around the apartments off campus, and having longer bull runner hours, especially late at night or early in the morning. But like I said, I think this is a great issue to bring up at our parking forum next Wednesday, October 1st. There will be free food. I will write that issue down because I do feel that if we're offering that park for students to go to, that we should offer it. So thank you for bringing up your concern. You don't have to get a follow-up card. I'll write it down and I'll make sure that if you're not there to bring it up to pass, that I'll definitely do that. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I can add that there was a local fee request last year as a priority for a bus route to Riverfront Park. It was accepted or approved, but the governor came in and said no fee increases. So we would have had a bus going to Riverfront Park on a regular route this year had the local fee been able to get to it.
So could happen next year, if we can raise enough.
Speak to those on local fee
Yeah,
committee.
so someone, I'm saying that to say someone has been thinking about it at least, and did enough to put forward a measure to address it.
Thank you. All right, well, if there are no other concerns, I'd like to thank you all for coming out this evening, and I believe also Ms. Strong has one, or maybe several final announcements.
I just wanted to say thank you to Alex for moderating, and Andy, Sammy, Coco, and Dean Freeman. Because it's not easy having questions that you don't know are coming to you, and then just having to think on the spot to answer it. So, you guys did a really good job. And then also, if you guys didn't sign in yet, if you want more information about town halls that we'll be having later, hopefully they'll be growing in size. But if you want more information about it, just make sure you sign in so you'll receive information about it.
Ms. Stinson.
I'd like to thank Kristen Trong for working so hard and for keeping us up to date and not letting us forget ever, day and night, sending us pictures and flyers. It helps. Thank
Do you have a question or an
If between now and October 1st you guys have questions, I would like to invite you back to Pastries with the President. So basically it's another kind of open forum thing that we do because in student government we really want your input and we really want you guys to come out and tell us how we can better ourselves and how we can cater to you. So Pastries with the President will be the first Wednesday in every month at 2 o'clock at the SGC. Pastries will be provided. So please come out. Yeah, that's it. Shameless meal.
With that, oh, sir.
What's the location for the,
It is in the MSC suite. So how we do it is kind of an open house to meet everyone in student government because I know with some of the issues, they're not only pertain to exec, but with Senate and with judicial, like parking, etc. So it's an open house kind of feel thing. Pastries with President Coco, if you have any initiatives or anything that you want to, questions that you want answered, that's what it's all about. But it is in the SG suite right there, 434.
4304.
4304. Yes. So it's like right there, SG suites. Please come out.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
If you walk into student government, you'll probably see people around the door. Or you can just ask for us at the front desk and they'll point you in the right direction. So just walk into student government. We're all friendly people.
Alright. With that, thank you all for coming. If you have any other questions, don't feel afraid to approach us.